Hola, muy buenos días. Estoy aquí en el parque hoy para nuestro episodio de Desahogamiento. Episodio es de la anatomía de salud, the anatomy of health, of your honesty, survival, accountability, and rebuilding trust. So welcome back. Bienvenido a Desahogamiento, un espacio para reflejar, para introspeccionar, and emotional wellness, la salud de tus emociones, and looking into the mirrors we often try to avoid. If you've been tuning into some of our past episodes, some of our past content, you'll know that we don't shy away from the heavy things. We talk about self-preservation. We talk about what it means to hold the pieces together when the outside feels so chaotic. Cuando el mundo está loco cerca de nosotros. Right now, it does feel chaotic. Let's be honest right out of the gate today. Here in Minnesota, we are feeling a heavy shift. Headlines, neighborhood forums, and daily conversations are dominated by the surge in crime. As parents, neighbors, and community members, it shakes the very foundation of what it means to harbor a safe family. You lock the doors a little earlier, you look over your shoulder at the gas station. El miedo puede tocar el miedo. And when fear moves into a community, it changes the curriculum of how we teach our kids. We want to teach them that the world is a beautiful, open place. But our survival instinct tells us to teach them pareds, suspiciones, y hypervigilance. Today, we're going to dissect into the intersections that fear and virtue claim to value above anything else. And that is honesty. So, in general, generalmente, we like to view honesty as black and white, right? Good, bad. You're either telling the truth, es la verdad, es la derecha, or you're a liar, un perdido. But when fear enters the room, cuando el miedo está en el cuarto, the survival brain takes over. According to classical psychological frameworks like Maslow's hierarchy of needs, psychological and physical safety must be secured before we can even think about higher level moral execution. When we feel maybe our families or our stability are threatened, our brains can sometimes justify things we never thought we'd do. Let's reflect on the ways we might have been dishonest, even recently, just trying to survive or protect our families. Maybe it's a lie of omission. You omitted the truth to a landlord or utility company because no tienes dinero. Your budget is collapsing and your kids need a roof. Tus hijos necesitan una casa. Por supuesto. O, por ejemplo, es posiblemente que poner una dirección falso por tu casa. Por la razón que tus hijos necesitan una escuela que tiene más buenas profesoras. A veces, cuando tu vecino tiene una sentimentando un poquito feo o frío en emocionales, necesita que cubrir tu familia. Purely por miedo. In social work and in family systems literature, we call these adaptive survival strategies, right? This person is trying to survive. They need to protect their finances. They need to protect their physical space. They need to protect their family unit. It's the protective armor that people put on when the environment feels unsafe. And the environment doesn't necessarily have to be cuando cual cosas puedes tocar. Es emocionales, es sociales, environmentos. If you have manipulated a truth, perhaps, to protect your sanctuary, to your children, I want to invite you to breathe. Puedes respirar. Porque es posiblemente que tenga miedo por la segura para cubrir tu familia. Self-preservation in the face of fear is a primal and valid human reflex. But we do have to look at the cost, because when we choose survival-driven dishonesty, we are subtly trading away community trust for immediate safety. We choose a culture of mistrust because we feel we have to. A veces no tenemos otros coges. So how do we pivot? How do we slow things down? Necesito tiempo despacio, pero cuando tenemos miedo, el tiempo nunca está despacio. Nunca es. If trust is broken, whether un poquito en nuestras casas o más grande en nuestras comunidades, how do we earn it back? How do you rebuild, construir las derechas? It might help to look back at a public example. Think about a public figure, maybe you know, in los Estados Unidos, se llama Michael J. Fox. When he was first diagnosed with young onset Parkinson's disease in the early 1990s, he hid it from the public. His peers didn't know, the industry in Hollywood, no one knew. It took 7 years. He used misdirection, tactical diversions, physical masking, and minor deceptions to preserve his career, protect his young growing family from the terrifying reality of the world around him and how they would treat him and his diagnosis of Parkinson's disease. This is a classic survival mechanism born from fear. But when he chose to step up into the light in 1998, he didn't just apologize. He revolutionized his accountability. He launched the Michael J. Fox Foundation. He dedicated his life, his resources, and radical transparency to curing Parkinson's disease. He notifiably earned back the public's profound trust, not through a single press release, but through decades of sustained, measurable actions. In community psychology, studies out of institutions like the University of Minnesota Extension here in Minneapolis, they emphasize that rebuilding trust requires a predictable multi-step framework, an equation, if you will. Number 1, radical ownership, acknowledging the truth without making excuses or hiding behind your original intent. Your intent could have been completely pure. Protect the kids, protect the family, protect the physical house, protect your car, get the kids into a better school. And then allowing for the impact is the second part. You might brace yourself. Oh, they're going to say this, they're going to say that. That doesn't change anything. No se cambie nada. Letting the people that you impacted with your dishonesty express their hurt or mistrust without getting defensive. Be there, be present. Respiramos. We can breathe in this moment in step 2. And then step 3, longevity, sustained behavioral correction. Show up transparently over time. Trust isn't built on promises. It's built on a track record of good actions. So that brings us to the core of today's reflection. Oración por tu reflejar hoy. Radical personal accountability. Forgiveness of ourselves is super important. Es más importante, pienso, que otras personas. Necesitamos que vivir con nuestro cuerpo, nuestros pensamientos, nuestros corazones, nuestra salud, todo parte, todas cosas de nuestra vida son solos de me, de tú. But if you had to lie to survive, you need to forgive yourself for doing what you thought you had to do to keep your head above water. Carrying shame won't protect your family, and it's not going to fix your neighborhood. But true healing happens when we recognize that we have opportunities to do the next right thing every single day. Accountability isn't about waiting until you get caught and performing a public apology. Accountability is what you choose to do when no one's watching. Por ejemplo, para devolver el cambio cuando la persona en el mercado da más dinero. Devuelve el cambio. It's owning up to a mistake at work that no one could trace back to you. It's telling your kids la verdad fea a veces when you've reacted out of anger, and then modeling what it looks like to be human and flawed. Nunca persona es perfecto en este mundo. Choosing integrity when there are zero witnesses feels incredibly grounding. It anchors you. It proves to you that fear doesn't own your character. There are some things we talk about in social work. There is a trait, and then there's a state. Brene Brown talks about this in her book, The Atlas of the Heart, which I'm reading right now, and I strongly recommend for anyone who can get access to it. Atlas of the Heart by Brene Brown. She said, there are traits, which are characteristics of people, and then there are states, which are temporary characteristics of people. So when you have a trait, you have a characteristic that is part of your personality. Of course, these things can be molded and shaped and sculpted en therapy, cuando desahogarse, reflejar y tienes tiempo para introspeccionar con tiempo de espacio. Pero una state es un estado, es temporaria, es un punto en tu tiempo cuando tienes miedo. Y, por ejemplo, una cosa será y después tienes miedo por 1 o 2 semanas hasta cuando desahogarse. But when you think about it, sacrifice over mistrust means choosing the harder, more honest path because you refuse to let a chaotic world tell you who you are on the inside. So as we close out today's episode, I'm giving you a homework assignment. I want you to grab a notebook or a piece of paper or open the notes on your phone. Ahora, we're going to practice some intentional journaling this week. Cuando tienes tiempo, dame 10 minutos para explorar 2 preguntas. ¿En cuál partes de mi vida hay miedo que es más grande de mi corazón y de mis pensamientos? Where have I used survival as an excuse to avoid una verdad difícil? Es la primera pregunta. Por la segunda pregunta, ¿cuál es un poquito cosa invisible de accountabilidad que me puedo performar esta semana solamente por mí? Cuando no hay otra gente, nos vemos. Y por esta pregunta, la razón es para un poquito parte de tu vida que tenía paz. Paz por tu vida en tu mundo. Nos comportamos al mundo, sí, pero cuando tienes paz en tu cuerpo, en tus pensamientos, en tu corazón, en todo de la otra gente en tu vida, en tu comunidad, en tu familia, en tu trabajo, en tu escuela, en el autobús, en tu coche, cuando estás conmigo, cuando estás contigo, cuando estás con otras personas. Un poquito de paz. Puedes reflejar en otras cosas en tu vida y las vidas de otras personas. Qué buena. Por favor, dame la verdad todo por estas preguntas. Por favor, hágame la fineza que dame el todo de la verdad. Si la verdad es muy guapa, es fea, es frío, es calor, es miedo, todos de tus emocionales están aquí en estas preguntas. No one is watching you. This is just for you. Gracias por tu tiempo hoy, para el espacio que nos compartamos. And remember, you cannot control the entire systemic climate of your city, and it is hot today. But you absolutely can control the sanctuary of your integrity. Forgive yourself for yesterday and choose to do the next right thing today. Stay grounded, stay safe, and I'll see you next time on Desahogamiento. Also, if you'd like to deepen your reflections and you'd like more insight on the psychology of community healing and building up systems of trust from the ground up, there are some different videos available. One is called Rebuilding Trust After Crisis. And this video features a retired police chief discussing the balance of human empathy and structural accountability required to mend fractured community dynamics. I wish all for you un poquito paz en tu vidas estas semanas y hasta el tiempo que cuando tiene más paz en la próxima episodio de Desahogamiento. Muchísimas gracias.